Welcome to the tutorial creating patches for the elbows and knees. In this tutorial, I'm going to finally show you how to get rid of the black lines around the knees and the elbows of the cartoon rabbit. So the first thing you need to do is import another script. So I don't know if you remember, but you simply need to click on the first icon in the scripting toolbar. Then from the QSA Workbench window, click on the second button to browse for the text file. So the script that I'm importing in is the toggle select tool work on single layer txt. So we see that the script is here and we can just close the window. And I'll explain to you what it does after we customize the icon and put it in our toolbar. So I'm actually going to give it the same icon as the select tool, and you'll see why when I explain to you what it does. So it's the select tool here. So what this script is going to help us do is it's going to help us select just one body part in the camera view, because as it goes right now, you can select multiple, actually I'm using the transform tool, you can select multiple drawing objects in the camera view. But what we want to do is only select one at a time. And for this script to work, you also need to set current drawings on top, as well as show light table. And then if you enable this script, you can see that now only the body is selected. And then to select another body part, you can either select its module in the network view, or you can find its layer in the timeline view. So now I'm going to show you how to create that patch, and the body part that I'd like to work on is this forearm, so Karate Rabbit 02 forearm. So I'm just going to disable that with the transform tool, select the arm, find it here, okay, good, and then I'll re-enable the script. So I'm going to select the entire drawing object, and then I can use the keyboard shortcut Command-C to copy it. And then I'm going to go from the line art layer to the color art layer. And as you can see, it's disappeared because there's actually nothing in the color art layer. And any of this stuff that you see in that faded coloring isn't there either. It's just the light table at work, but there's nothing in the color layer for any of these other objects either. And then I'm going to use Command-V or Control-V if you're using Windows to paste it in. The next thing I want to do is switch the contour editor tool so that I can get rid of this black line that's around the curve of the joint. And what I'm really hoping to do is taper it around the edges. And don't worry about these little kinks in the side of the drawings. When I connect everything, it'll disappear. So now what we want to do is go to the network view and look for our module. And we want to Command or Control copy it, and then Control or Command-V paste it into the network view. So now we have two copies. And actually, this is not just a copy of this module, but it's actually a clone. Whatever changes you make to one will also occur in the other one. So what I'm going to do here is connect it to the same peg. And then I'm going to connect it to the composite. So right now it's pretty obvious where you should put in the composite, and that's in front of its predecessor. But sometimes with all these wires and connections going everywhere, it's hard to tell. So a simple trick is to actually select the module of which you would like to put it in front of, and it turns the wire black. So then if you go to the composite and say you can't see where these modules are anymore, they're way up, in the right-hand corner, you know at least to go in front of this black wire. So like that. And now I'm going to go to the drawing tab, and I'm going to uncheck line art, read line art. So it's going to read the color art layer, but not what's in the line art layer. So the line art layer. And because these two clones of one another are hooked to the same peg, whenever movements are recorded on this peg through keyframes, these two modules, or the drawings on these two modules, will move together in perfect unison. So there are two things that we want to hide. We want to hide this black circular bit of the arm, which is on this module, and we also want to hide this black line, which is on the Karate Rabbit 02 arm layer on the line art view. So the way to do this is to actually sandwich this module, so this piece, between these two pieces, and you just have to bring it in front of the first Karate Rabbit 02 forearm module in the network view. So now it's actually sandwiched like this. And if we turn this off for a minute and then we select the transform tool and zoom out, you'll see that it looks completely fixed. So once again, to reiterate, on the Karate Rabbit 02 forearm _1, I might even change this to patch so that it's more obvious. Patch layer, we have this piece where there's no black line between the two joints, and it sits on top. Underneath sits this, so it actually circles under that patch, but both the black line and part of its coloring is hidden by this piece on top. And then underneath all of that is this piece, and although it has that black arch, it's behind, so we can't see it at all either. And then if you use the keyboard shortcut B to go up the chain, you can go all the way up to the lower arm. And then if I grab this entire lower arm, you can see exactly what I mean when I say that the patch and the forearm sandwich the upper arm. And then if we do a quick test and we make a rotation, you'll see that you can't see that thick black line, but you get that nice pointed taper line that looks pretty natural, like a fold in the arm if the arm was actually bending in that direction. So there's one more thing that we have to test, and that's if you select the patch that you made, you'll notice that the pivot is not in the proper place. It's right here by the wrist where it really should be right here. And the reason that is because, like I said, this is a clone of this module here, and what the software does is it actually adds together the values for the pivot. So that's why this pivot is offset. So we want to reset it, and we actually do that by going to the drawing tab. And from this drop down where it says use embedded pivots, we want to select don't use embedded pivot. And now it'll go to the proper place at the joint. So you just have to repeat all those steps that I showed you for the other arm as well as for the two legs here at the bottom, and you should have a nice clean looking rabbit. So that's it for the tutorial creating patches for the elbows and knees. Stay tuned for the next tutorial, fixing the character's mouth using a cutter.